Welcome to Utah Hustlers, a podcast on how to build your business to $10,000 a month. My name is Skylar Beitendorf. I'm an entrepreneur just like you, and it's my mission to help you achieve the highest level of success possible. And one of the main ways of doing that is building strong relationships with your customers. But what if we have hundreds or even thousands of customers? How do we continue to build relationships with that many people? Is it even possible to continue building relationships with hundreds or thousands of people? Well, that's where our guest, Scott Willey, comes in. Scott has set up a system where he is able to build these relationships faster and maintain them even after business has been done, which can lead to referrals, getting more reviews, and having an overall healthy business. And since you're already building these great relationships with people, why wouldn't you ask for a review or testimonial that will help support your business? Because we all look at the reviews before we go to restaurants or buy products on Amazon. And guess what? People are going to look at your reviews too. Today, we're going to go over how to build relationships with customers using a CRM and eventually turn that into a 5-star review. Scott's going to tell us how powerful a CRM can be in your business and go over tips on how you can get more 5-star reviews from the relationships that are built. In short, if you want to make more money, then get ready for this episode with Scott Willey.
My name is Scott Willey. I'm a real estate agent here. I team with the Perry Group is the name of our team here in the Salt Lake City area. Sell houses, help people buy and sell residential real estate.
So how long have you been doing that?
I've been in the real estate world for maybe 3 or 4 years. I kind of started more like on the investing side and then transitioned out of active duty service. So thank you for the American flag. I'll assume you put that up for me. And have been doing real estate full time for the last 2 years since I got out.
I saw that you were a USMC pilot.
Yeah, I flew helicopters in the Marine Corps for 8 years. Ended up getting out, was on the East Coast the whole time. And my wife's family is from Utah and we love the mountains. So it was kind of a natural landing spot for us. So had to kind of figure out what to do next. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Love that. So when did you make your first 10 grand a month?
Honestly, my first transaction. If you do the math for real estate, the median sales price in Salt Lake County is over $500,000, right? And if you make 3%, your gross commission income is going to be, in theory, a $15,000 check minus fees and things like that you have to pay. But most real estate agents would probably tell you they probably make at least $10,000 per transaction. So as long as you're doing it consistently, then you can certainly make a minimum of $10,000 a month in that industry.
So how many people do you talk to every month?
Talk to in the sense of like I communicate with them in some form, like probably in the hundreds, because you're reaching out to people. You're not just calling people all day, every day. Like, you know, whether you have print marketing and you're sending out postcards to people strategically, like circle prospecting, you know, or email campaigns or text message campaigns. So between all those modalities, like probably hundreds of people a month.
Hundreds of people a month turns into 10, 20 people a day, probably, you know, depending on the month.
Yeah, for sure.
To. And so how do you manage all those different people you're talking to? Because that's a lot of relationships, a lot of people to speak to.
Yeah,
regularly.
It's a lot of people. And I have a bad enough memory as it is. If I don't like have something written down somewhere, like I'm not going to remember it. Also, it helps me provide a better service to people if I have like a CRM where I can manage my clients, you know, figure out where are they in the pipeline, figure out, you know, be able to take notes on them. A CRM can do a lot for you. It's probably the biggest tool that anyone in the real estate industry has in their tool belt is a CRM.
Yeah. Probably anybody in any business because everyone's dealing with hundreds of customers, you know, throughout the year. So you need to have a CRM. And what's does CRM stand for?
Customer Relations Manager, basically the ability to organize your leads and your customers, your clients, and be able to like systematize it in a way that you don't forget about people. Like that's always the worst phone call when, you know, you forget to follow up with someone. They're like, oh yeah, we bought a house with so-and-so. And you're like, oh, okay, that was 15 grand. I just lost out on because I wasn't organized.
That's really what it is. It's an organization tool. So you can put all your clients into here. You can keep track of when you have billed people, haven't billed people. What are all the benefits to a CRM?
One is information about the customer or client, just black and white, like the X's and O's of it. Things from like their contact information to smart plans or like drip, people might call it drip campaigns of like ways to automate. And that's really what a CRM does. There's the organization side, but then there's also the automation side. And we live in a world of AI, right? Of like robots are going to take over the world. So if you can have a CRM that takes the workload off of you, then you can focus more time on the revenue generating activities and less time on the things that are not necessarily making you money. So our CRM is awesome. It's kind of real estate specific, but there's the organization side, but then there's also the opportunities. Can I give you a quick example to kind of
Yeah,
explain
I'd love
what that means? Okay. So in our CRM, it's tied to my website. So if someone comes to my website and they look at a property, I'm kind of spying on them. Like I can see their activity. If we were connected through Zillow together, I could see any house that you look at on Zillow. When you looked at it, kind of like Big Brother, like the government, if you hit the little heart button, we'll take that concept, but apply it to any house, not just to Zillow. I can see the houses you looked at, when you looked at them, you know, if you used the online calculator to figure out purchase price and what your monthly payment would be, or it's kind of a way to like spy on a client, but you're really using that to your advantage to have an opportunity to communicate with them, right?
Yeah.
Like if I see you looked at a house 3 times today, you're probably pretty interested in it. And it's incumbent upon me to be able to talk to you about that and say like, hey man, I noticed you were looking at this property. Like, do you want me to schedule a showing? Like, you want to go check it out tomorrow? So there's like little nuanced tools like that that kind of help you have a reason for reaching out to people as well.
Because if you know that a buyer is very ready to purchase, that can be worth thousands of dollars, it sounds like.
Or if I need to communicate to a lot of people at once, instead of like going on my phone and like texting 100 people, I can just mass text all of them at once, the same message, right?
And it's not a group message. It's
no, I can
individual.
insert variables where it says like, hey, first name, like their actual first name.
Oh, and it will auto-generate the name into the message.
Yeah.
So it feels very personal.
Super personal. And what I like about the technology these days is like everything's kind of tied together. Like everyone's on some form of social media. So if I wanted to like send a message out to everyone on Facebook, I can do it for my CRM. Like it's all tied.
What about like email? Can you do the same thing with emails?
Totally. Yeah. Mass emails or email campaigns where I can send out like Happy Thanksgiving this year email to people. Like I could send that out to thousands of people in a matter of seconds.
So it's not just a organization tool. It's also a huge marketing tool, it sounds like.
Huge marketing tool. The CRMs these days are getting real sophisticated with their capabilities, and like having AI generated stuff is pretty cool. A lot of it's tied into like print marketing or social media marketing, where you can like order mailers from your CRM and all you have to do is like input a list of addresses and it'll like send it to the mail house for you, send it to all the property addresses you identified. I can even track if people are opening my emails. I can see when they opened them, which properties they looked at, how many times they looked at it, if they saved it. It's like pretty intrusive, but like amazing when it comes to like having reasons to talk to people.
Yeah. And that's just the world we live in now. Like even if you click don't track me on my phone, I'm pretty sure it's still tracking everything you do on your phone. Like if you have electronic devices and you put information in there, like you're putting it in there so other people can see it. But that's huge for building relationships with your customers, because you can send out the Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, all those things, and continue to build these relationships. But you're maintaining like hundreds of relationships with just one tool, right?
For sure. And what's nice too is it'll log everything. Every phone call I make is recorded. So if I forget what someone says, or if I need to go back because it's been a few weeks and I need to reference a phone call, not only can I reference my own notes that I can take in there, but I can look back at our text history, our email history, which emails they opened, which ones they didn't. Every single phone call is recorded, and it's kind of all like logged right there for me for every single client. Yeah. So yeah, the organization part is huge because it's important to stay in front of people. You know, there's those studies that show like you have to talk to people like 7 or 9 times before they like finally say yes, like whatever that metric is.
Yeah.
Really hard to do when you're trying to do that with thousands of people. Like imagine trying to do that on your own, even with a smartphone. So that's where the CRM can like help you organize your day too.
Do they make CRM specific for basically any business?
Yeah. I'm sure they do.
Because you're specific to real estate.
Yeah, it's specific to real estate, but they make CRMs that are industry specific and tailored, but also I'm sure there's ones for just about any industry out there.
Yeah. Have you ever used Wave?
No, heard of it. Don't have personal experience with that one.
Yeah, that's the only one I ever used. And I used it because it was a free CRM and I was able to keep track of all my customers, like all their emails, all the information, right?
Yeah.
But it was I feel like that was a good free one to start, because I think some people just are working on building their income so they can invest more into their business. But are there any other free ones that you know of, or is the CRM use start free?
The ones I've had experience with are not free, but it's only because they're pretty sophisticated. And I think that's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
I think you're paying for the tools and the automation that it creates. But there's ones out there like ReSimpli. Like there's a lot of wholesalers and guys that use ReSimpli, or guys that do off-market deals. That was probably my first exposure to CRM.
Okay.
All CRMs are going to have some basic overlap of capabilities, even if it's like industry specific or not. There's going to be a lot of overlap. because they're all trying to accomplish the same thing. They just go about it different ways. But there's certainly like thresholds and tiers of how good and capable some of them are.
So which one do you use?
Man. We've been using Chime, and it's awesome. Like we looked and researched a ton of them and vetted many CRMs, and that was the one we landed on.
You didn't just buy the first one that you saw or started using. It's like you went and looked at what the best one is, because like you're going to be using it a long time. You probably want to make sure that you have the right benefits that you need and the right features you have for your specific business. Yeah.
What we ended up doing is we got a nerdy tech guy who did all the research for us, but it's a genius guy. And because our team is so big, we basically threw a survey out there like, hey, what's the most important features for a CRM to have? And there was some consistencies with that of what people needed to do their business at a high level. And so he basically took that and he was like, okay, which CRM is going to give us these capabilities?
So what's your process with the CRM? People get a new contact for a client, or they just service a client for the first time. They have information. What do they do with that?
All CRMs are going to be like pretty similar in how you organize leads. At a minimum, like what I tell our new agents when they join the team is every single lead that you put in your CRM, it should be assigned, like where are they in the pipeline? Right? Are they like a nurture lead? Are they a hot lead, or somewhere in between? Is it someone that you're still qualifying? Have you like set the appointment yet, but you don't kind of know where they are on that spectrum? You know, if an A is like a super hot lead down to like a D is someone you've never talked to, like where are they in that organization? Where are they in the pipeline? And then obviously beyond their personal contact information, our CRM, you can do tags. It's just a way to organize people. It's like a labeling them, but it's a way to make groups within groups. I'll give you some examples. Let's say I wanted to tag every lead who's a veteran in my CRM. If I add the tag veteran, then I can go back and filter. So let's say I only want to talk to my veterans that day, or if I have a message for that specific audience, I can filter people by tag, which is pretty cool. So it's just a way of like organizing and filtering people. Right. So here's what I do at a minimum, and here's what I would recommend for any business owner out there, regardless of what industry, whether you sell a product or service or whatever, your clients or customers, you should probably have the source, like where did they come from? How did you get in contact with them? And then where are they in the pipeline? Like those two things at a minimum will help you organize everyone. That's all you need.
Right. Why is it important to keep track of how we got in contact with those people?
You want to be able to track your KPIs, your key performance indicators. You want to know, how did you come in contact with these people? Because it'll help you build trends. Like if all of your customers and clients are coming from your sphere of influence, like your friends and family, great. If all of them are coming from your pay-per-click on Google or social media or word of mouth or your website, you want to be able to track like what percentage of your leads are coming from what source. And then of those leads, which ones are you converting? Which ones are you not converting? And if so, at what rate are you converting them? That's why it's important. Like I want to know who all my people are, where, like how I came in contact with them. Because if there's a certain category of people that I'm just like closing like crazy, if I'm going to spend more marketing money, I probably want to spend it in this category and not this other category over here where I've like yet to close someone from this group.
You get a lead doesn't mean you're actually making money from that.
Sure.
So you want to look at two things. One, where you're getting the clients, but also how fast are they converting? You know, because some clients may be hot from where you're getting them from, but the others might be cold or warm.
Well, and even beyond that, I would say any entrepreneur needs to have a pulse on their business.
Yeah.
So at any moment, you should be able to look at your business and make non-emotional decisions. Like, where are my leads coming from? At what rate am I converting them? How long does it take me to convert them, right? If it takes me 6 months to convert a Zillow lead, but it only takes me 3 months to convert a lead from my church, right? That should tell you something about your business.
Right. So you should keep track of your numbers, because that's what so much of a business is. You got to keep track of how many dollars you're putting in, how many dollars you're getting out, how many clients you're getting in, how many of them are converting. It's all numbers.
What's your cash flow? What are your timelines? Yeah,
exactly. So if you're able to look at that data more clearly, then you can put your marketing dollars in the right place.
For sure. So, or you can see where you're dropping the ball. If you forget to follow up with so-and-so because you didn't have it organized in a CRM and you didn't assign yourself tasks, right? Like a lot of CRMs, you can assign yourself a task, like a reminder, like, oh, I need to call this person next Friday. It gets really easy to forget about people.
Yeah.
Not because you don't care about them, not because you don't want their business. It just life happens, business happens.
We're busy.
Yeah, dude, a CRM just like keeps the train on the tracks.
I like that a lot because I've definitely forgotten to get back to clients at the right time. Because there's a lot to do when you're running a business, especially when you're hustling and you're just getting it to that 10 grand a month mark.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do because you don't have the capital yet to build a team. You know?
Most people do not have the discipline to have consistent follow-up, and that's why they don't either make 10 grand or more a month or don't stay in business.
Yeah. Follow up. Because you said earlier how it takes 7 interactions or 7 hours or whatever to get someone to buy. And I've messed up this plenty of times, but I thought like, okay, they're not buying now, so they're never going to buy. But that's not always the case. Like you got to be able to follow up and reach back out.
Yeah. And I think it's just human psychology. People get discouraged way too easily. They don't have resilience or they don't have like thick skin. So if someone tells you no, like I think it takes consistent follow-up really. I mean, that's so cliche, but you got to stay in front of people, I think, and build a rapport and build trust and like show them that you can provide value to them, not just ask for their business. And that just takes time, and it just takes being in front of them as much as you can. I mean, that's like marketing 101 is like staying in front of people.
And so to be clear, even though it's called a customer relations manager, you're not just putting your customers in there. You're also putting leads. And so like it's not just a place to keep track of who you're currently doing business with, but then who you'd want to do business with and are trying to do it with. You put everyone in there.
Yeah. And what I tell all the new guys that join our team is like, hey, start with who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like start with your friends and family. Even if they might not ever buy something from you, whether it's a service or product, like put them in there and use that as your launching point.
Yeah.
Like just getting the muscle memory of like adding people, following up with them, setting tasks for yourself. Like all of those things are important skill sets and habits.
Yeah. So create those habits. You got to reach out to people probably at least 7 times before.
Well, you got to have a plan.
Buy. You have a plan. That's what it is. Yeah. You got to have a plan to get your leads to buy.
Yeah.
And the customer relationship manager, CRM, is going to help you execute that plan.
And automate it.
Yeah, automate it. Sounds like you can create mail campaigns in there. And so you can automate these emails that go out to them every so often.
Yeah. I have
texts.
smart plans that are like over a year long.
Wow.
But it's built out, right? And like I said, pretty sophisticated where it's like one thing will trigger one thing. But, there's always common objections like in any sales job. Like there's always going to be common objections that you can like build smart plans out for because it's a really common thing people say.
Yeah. A CRM helps us build relationships, helps us save money, make money, helps us keep track of our numbers. But I think a big thing that helps a business survive and thrive is reviews, getting like testimonials from people.
Yep.
And so once you've built that up, you've used your CRM, you've built these relationships, and there's been like an exchange of value. How do you start by getting reviews and testimonials from people?
There's a couple sources where you can get reviews, but before I like dive into that, we live in like a review world. It's like if people are going to go out to dinner, like what's the first thing you do? You go on Yelp or you look at reviews, like how many stars does this place have? How many reviews does it have?
Right.
I don't know why, like I tend to make all my decisions these days based off reviews. You want to buy something online, like you look at what other people have to say about that product. Amazon has nailed that concept where people can leave reviews and you can see like how many stars. So what do people do? It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the more reviews you have, the more people buy that product and leave a positive review. Right? So when it comes to a business, that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to establish your reputation, like establish your ethos. And the way you do that is through reviews. A Google business, really anyone can set up and it's free as long as you have a Google account. That was something that I did like even fairly recently. And so building reviews like helps build a reputation. But it also is a way to stay in contact with people that you've helped, right? Like I have reviews from people that I've never done a transaction with them, but I've had an interaction with them and I was helpful in some way. And so I would say at a minimum, even if someone doesn't buy a product or service from you, you can still get a review from someone.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think a lot of my reviews are actually from people I didn't exchange money with. I just helped them like start their podcast or help them with the lighting or the video or just kind of just showed them how to launch it correctly.
Yeah.
And even though there was no money exchange there, and, I'm sure I'll talk to a lot of them down the road when they've, they're ready to like grow it more. But I helped them and then was like, hey, would you mind leaving me a review? And since there was like that free exchange of value, like they kind of feel like they almost owe you.
You're obligated to. Yeah. So with reviews, like depending on your audience's industry, there's some places where it's way easier to get reviews than others. Like a Google business, super easy to get a review. You can like text or email a link to anyone and they can leave you a review.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Google review or Facebook review or whatever, just because like you, in your words, like even though you didn't have an exchange of money, you could totally like get your friends and family to help you out just to like get that kind of ball rolling, get some momentum.
Yeah. And like I do that too. But I do always ask, it's like, I want an honest review. I just don't want fake reviews, And so I always ask people, like if they're leaving a review on my podcast or something like that, I'm always like, hey, go listen to it, leave an honest review.
Yeah.
If you can't do a 5-star review, give me feedback then.
Sure.
And then I'll, make adjustments off the feedback. And, because I don't want anything less than 5-star. And most people aren't going to give that, but I know the haters down the road will. Sure. So I need to get the 5 stars now. And so I just, it's good feedback. How do you ask people for reviews?
What I love about our CRM is I can automate even text messages. Yeah. So instead of me having to write the same thing over and over again, I literally have a text that's can be generated that asks for a review. So I can do that like through my CRM. At the end of every transaction, I can ask for a review. Try to do it when they're at an emotional high. Try not to do it when they just lost 10 grand. There's also a timing aspect to it too. And there's nothing that says you have to do it at the end of the process. Like you could certainly ask for a review earlier on if it's been going well. So I'll ask for reviews like after a transaction, because usually like they're super excited. They just got their new house, just got the keys. Like they're stoked that they, we negotiated super under the list price or whatever. So that's always a great time because people they're appreciative, right? Like they're thankful that you were there to help them. So, I'd say for your audience members, you can really strategically ask for it. Like how you ask for it, I should say when you ask for it can be just as important as how you ask for it.
So you have to ask them the right timing, because if you ask them right when they're excited and they're happy about what
they're more likely to do it too.
Yeah. And it'll probably make it better and a longer review. That's probably more like on that emotional high. Like,
right. I mean, if I ask someone the day after they close and move into their dream house, it's going to be different than like 6 months later, right? When, the water heater broke and they find out the basement's haunted, they're going to be a little bit more excited like in the beginning. But I guess to also answer your question, like how and when to ask for review, you can ask other industry professionals. Like doesn't have to just be clients. Like when I do a transaction with another agent, I'll try to give them something and not ask for anything in return, but just human nature, they want to reciprocate, so I'll say, hey man, like you've been awesome to work with. I'm glad, we can make this work for both of our clients. Like I type this up, like here's the review that I'm going to send you, where can I post it? And almost every single time they're like, oh yeah, like here's the link to my Google business, or, if you could please post that on my Facebook, like, do you want me to leave you a review? If you have reviews from other industry professionals, can be just as meaningful as customers.
Yeah. And they know what the words to say and like how to word the review too. So that way customers see it and like it actually communicates something.
And I like to show them like, here's what I'm going to post. So I let them see it before I post it.
Yeah.
Right. Just to dispel any like concerns, like this guy can leave me like a 1.5 star review because he hates me.
So what do we do with those 1.5 star reviews? Because people are going to get bad reviews. It's just something that happens in business. So what do we do when we get those bad reviews? Do we reach out to them, or how do you handle bad reviews?
I mean, thankfully I haven't like had a bunch of like bad reviews, but that's a great question because you're right. Like humans are humans. Like maybe someone has a bad interaction with you and leaves you a poor review. It's always helpful if people have constructive criticism and not just criticism. Maybe there's a learning lesson hidden in there. That's more than just an emotional response from someone. Maybe you did mess up and you got to own up to it, but that's part of having integrity is admitting faults.
I like that a lot because like it really is feedback if you look at it right. If you just look at it like they're trying to do you wrong, like you're just going to hurt yourself. But if you look at it as feedback, like here's what you could have done.
I mean, I'm sure there's a-holes out there that'll like, you go on Yelp and you see it all the time. Like people just want to give their opinion when they're not happy. But the idea is that you're not going to ask a review from someone unless you're like pretty sure it's going to be positive. Then you're just hurting your own business. Like you don't want a bunch of like 1-star reviews. So I'll put it this way. I don't go out of my way to ask for a review if it's been like pretty rocky. I mean, I might still ask for their feedback and like ask for ways of improvement.
Yeah. So ask the right people for reviews. Yeah. And if you get a bad review, look at it as feedback. Look at it as a way for you to get better. Because like really, if you have 2 bad reviews out of 50 good reviews.
People see right through that too, right? If you've got like 100 5-star reviews and everyone's saying amazing things, and then there's one jerk out there that's like, he was 5 minutes late. I told him not to be late, but he was 5 minutes late.
Right.
And it's like, all right, dude.
Yeah. That's good to keep in mind too, because if people read those, like if they're not that legitimate, then people are gonna be like, okay, this guy is just ridiculous.
Yeah. And
actually, bad reviews do help. So I don't remember what study it was or statistic, but if you have 100 reviews and all of them are 5-star, people are gonna think it's fake.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But if you have a 4.9 rating or a 4.7 or something like that, it's actually been proven that people trust that more and are more likely to go to that restaurant with
that's probably true.
Not like a perfect rating.
For sure.
So I
Seems
think
more genuine.
it does seem more genuine.
Well, like if you go on Airbnb, like if you're going to go find a place to stay, if someone's had that property established and they've had a bunch of people through there, no one has a perfect 5-star unless you're like brand new and you have 3 reviews.
Yeah.
The best Airbnbs have like a 4.6 and above.
Exactly. So look at the few bad reviews you get and look at it as it's helping you. Because if you don't have them, you probably haven't been doing business that long. And so you just need to do more business.
I'll tell you what though, and for all entrepreneurs, it's better to ask for a review. It's better to have a bunch of reviews, even if it's not perfect, than to not take the time to build up your business. And that's what I tell people. I say like, hey, do you mind taking 2 minutes to fill out this review? It actually helps my business a ton. I will tell them that because it does. Mm-hmm. So I would rather see people take it serious and actually like build up their reviews and build up their credibility as a business than not even try because they're afraid there's going to be someone out there that gives them a negative review.
I think most people are going to give you a 5-star review. I would say if you actually treat them right and
it's kind of human nature. Yeah. Sometimes you can game the game a little bit too and like, hey, do you mind taking 2 minutes to write me a 5-star review, but also give me your honest opinion of how it went?
Exactly. Do you have any last advice for people as far as building relationships with customers and getting reviews and all that?
I mean, gosh, relationships, that's kind of the name of the game. Like, it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. If you treat people like you would treat your, a family member and you give them the time of day and you like genuinely work hard for them and you put their needs in front of your own, very hard to do. But I think ultimately that comes back. That comes back to help you in the long run. Even if it doesn't seem like a win at the time, I think just trying to build relationships in a way that's not cheesy or fake with people. People tend to work with someone who is a professional, but someone that they also feel like they can trust. Like, there's certain people, even in my industry, that sell way more houses than I do. But guess who's going to, like, if my neighbor's going to use someone to sell their house, probably a higher likelihood it's going to be me than it is like just the dude who happens to sell more houses than anyone in the state. And so I'd say use that to your advantage. Like use who you know and your influence to grow that bubble and that sphere of people, but do it in a way that's just genuine. There's way too many fake people out there.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
So if people want to get in contact with you for real estate purposes or anything else, like what's the best way to contact Scott?
Instagram is usually the easiest. Most people have that. So Utah Real Estate Veteran, one word, but that's the easiest way for people to DM and reach out to me.
Awesome. And you have a podcast too, right? Coming out?
Yeah. The Pursuit Project, it's real estate related, but we're super excited. We've like filmed some episodes and it's a lot of fun. Doing this is fun and being able to talk to other like professionals in the industry and gain insight from other people. It's fun.
By the time this episode's out, maybe your podcast will be out by then.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Well, Scott, hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
My guest today was Scott Willey. If you would like to get in contact with him, reach out to him on Instagram at Utah Real Estate Veteran, or go check out his podcast when it releases. All the links are in the show notes. That wraps up this episode of Utah Hustlers. If this episode gave you a new perspective or actions to take in your business, it would mean the world to me if you'd leave a rating and review. And if you've already done that, thank you so much. Consider sharing it with someone that you think could use this information to build their business. And as always, it's not just about knowing what to do, it's about taking the required action. Until next time, keep building.